Hey there, my name is Chand and I'm director of StudyEasy.org, and I would be your instructor throughout this course on aspect-oriented programming under Spring. Now friends, this particular tutorial you are about to see is taken from our advanced course on Spring's framework. Link for our advanced course is provided in the description of the video, so do check it out. Alright, so enough of talking. Let's proceed further to the tutorial. Hey guys, welcome back. This is Chand from StudyEasy.org, and from today's video we will start exploring aspect-oriented programming. This is the first video related to aspect-oriented programming. Now friends, if we check this definition related to aspect-oriented programming, it says in computing, aspect-oriented programming, or AOP in short, is a programming paradigm that aims to increase modularity by allowing the separation of cross-cutting concern. Now friends, AOP or aspect-oriented programming is a design pattern how we can code a program, how we can configure a program, and in order to understand this aspect-oriented programming in a further detail, firstly we need to understand what is cross-cutting concern, and this is not a Spring framework's feature, rather this is a overall design pattern which can be used in some other programming languages as well which supports AOP. So let us try to understand what exactly AOP is, but before doing that we must also check a couple of more highly usable and highly famous design patterns. So with that, let us firstly check functional programming, where functions are the backbone. Now when it comes to functional programming, things seems to be very simple to start with, but if your problem is complex and we would like to implement the complex architecture using functional programming, then implementation would be little complex, then management would be complex as well, and we won't be able to implement the problem using a modular fashion. For example, if we check this particular diagram, then function A is dependent on many more functions like function C and function D. Now function C and function D are dependent on many more functions as well. So in order to complete the whole function A, we must complete the execution cycle of function C, function I, function J, function B. Then we need to also complete the whole execution cycle of function D, function E, function F, function G, and function H. So there is like huge complex relationship between functions, and these kind of like program is little difficult to manage. So there comes object-oriented programming, which give you a more modular approach and things becomes little more easier to manage. So let us check the object-oriented programming design pattern now. Now when it comes to object-oriented programming, these objects are like bundled up, and these are bundled with variables, method, and business logic, and things becomes more easier to manage, and it reduces complexity and also implements the modular approach. And the best part is that we can depict the real life scenario by taking help of object-oriented methodology. Let us proceed further and check object-oriented programming furthermore. Now when it comes to object-oriented methodology, it doesn't modularize cross-cutting concerns properly. Now what exactly is cross-cutting concern? If we check this particular definition, it says cross-cutting concerns are part of the program that rely on or must affect many other parts of the system. Now in order to understand cross-cutting concerns, let us check this particular diagram real quick. Now imagine a bank application, and in the bank application we have multiple objects like deposit, withdraw, balance check, and logger. Now imagine the deposit object. Now inside the deposit object we will also call the log method, and we will log the information in the database for documentation purposes. Likewise in withdraw we will also log the information, and for balance check we will do the same. Now we are doing a same thing when it comes to deposit, when it comes to withdraw, when it comes to balance, and this is not a good thing, and this is not 100% modular approach. Moreover, it is making the relationship complex, and this is not 100% modular approach, and this is where object-oriented programming falls short. But when it comes to AOP, we do the things in a different manner. Let us check the AOP solution. But before checking the solution, let us also check the problems associated with the cross-cutting concerns. Now the first problem with cross-cutting concern is it will add too many relationships because of these cross-cutting concerns. Then it will add an extra level of complexity. Why? For example, there is a withdraw method. Inside the withdraw method, we are doing everything related to withdraw, but we are also logging information and we are calling the log method, right? So because of this, there would be extra level of complexity. With complexity, there comes the ambiguity, and definitely the extra code is also required for calling the log method, the example which we have seen in our previous slide. And definitely because of these complexity, ambiguity, relationship, it will be definitely complex to manage. One more thing is that for example, we need to update a cross-cutting concern. We need to update everything where we have implemented the cross-cutting concern, and the update would be again difficult. So there are a couple of problems associated with the cross-cutting concern, and even if a couple of the problems are not clear in your mind, that's okay. Do understand that with cross-cutting concern, the overall software will become more complex. So if we can modularize things in a better manner, the software will become easy to manage. Now let us quickly check how we can fix these problem of cross-cutting concern by taking help of AOP. Now when it comes to aspect-oriented programming, we does not create objects, rather we create aspects. Now what is an aspect? Aspect is nothing but a special type of object, nothing else. Now imagine the same bank application where we have deposit, withdraw and balance check. And we would like to call the log method whenever we are calling any method from deposit object, withdraw object or balance check object, and how we can do that. Now when it comes to aspect oriented programming, note that we are not calling the log method inside the deposit object or withdraw object or balance check object, but the log method would be called before or after the call of these objects based on the aspect configuration. Now here is the catch, that we can configure a aspect that before the deposit functionality the log method will get executed. Likewise, we can also configure that before or after the withdraw method the log method will be called. Likewise, we can also configure that do nothing when we, for example, call the check balance functionality. Now this is a very high level explanation. Even if you are not able to understand 100% that what exactly is aspect oriented programming, don't worry about it, because we're gonna check the aspect oriented programming in detail in the forthcoming lectures. Let us quickly check that how we can configure it. Now for example, our configuration will say that log method would be called just before the deposit functionality, then the log method would be called just before the deposit functionality. Likewise, we can also advise that the log method would be called just after the withdraw functionality. Likewise, we will not advise to do anything, and hence the after the balance check functionality nothing will happen. So these kind of things we can do by taking help of aspect oriented programming, and there is more to it, how to configure, how we handle all these scenarios. Don't worry how we gonna do this, because everything would be covered, rest assured. Alright, so saying that, I hope I have made myself clear. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care. Now moving forward, let us quickly check couple of AOP terms. The first term that we will discuss is aspect. What is an aspect? An aspect is a class that implements applications cross-cutting concerns such as logging, security, etc. Aspects are like normal class and can be configured through Spring XML Configuration or Annotation. Now definitely aspect is a class and we need to add some annotation in order to make a normal class as aspect. And how to deal with aspect, don't worry about it. We will check aspect in detail in this particular section. But definitely aspect is no rocket science. Moving forward, the second particular term that we will discuss is advise. Now what is advise? Now when it comes to Spring's AOP, advise would be a method inside your aspect. Now friends, if we check this particular definition, it says advice is an action taken by an aspect at a particular join point, and advice provides the code for implementation of the concern. Now friends, these theoretical definition might not be like give you a proper understanding of these terms. Don't worry about it, because all of these terms would be implemented live on Eclipse in order to give you a better understanding. But definitely even the theory is important. So what is an advice? Advice is the action taken by an aspect at a particular join point, and advice provides the code for implementation of the concern. Alright, so let's proceed further and check the next term. The next term is definitely Pointcut. Now the next term is Pointcut, and if we check the definition of Pointcut, it says a predicate that matches join points. Advice is associated with a Pointcut expression and runs at any join point matched by the Pointcut. For example, the execution of a method with a certain name. The concept of join points as matched by Pointcut expression is central to AOP, and Spring uses aspect J Pointcut expression language by default. Now if we check this particular definition, this definition is definitely little complicated to understand. If we say what is the layman's definition of Pointcut, I will say it's simply an expression which will be matched when we would be triggering the advice. Means it is an expression. Based on this particular expression, we will trigger the aspect. Now definitely don't worry about Pointcut if you are not able to understand it 100% with this definition. Definitely this particular definition is little complicated to understand. Now if we check this particular definition, in here we have the term join point. So let us now check what exactly is join point. Now if we check join point, the definition says join point is a point during the execution of the program, such as the execution of a method or handling of an exception. In Spring AOP, a join point always represent a method execution. Now definitely what is a join point? Join point is the point of execution. Now this point could be anything, basically a execution of a method, and whenever that particular method would be executed, we can either, for example, run the advice before the method or after the method or during the method, and that particular point is nothing but the join point. Alright, so finally let us check what is AOP proxy. Now AOP proxy is nothing but a proxy object which is created by AOP framework itself. So if we check the definition, it is an object created by the AOP framework in order to implement the aspect contracts, advice, method execution, and so on. In the Spring framework, the AOP proxy would be implemented by JDK dynamic proxy or a CG-lib proxy. Now definitely a proxy object would be needed in order to manipulate the execution path of your program. So definitely because of modification of the execution path of your program, we make use of AOP proxy. So these are couple of terms that we must know before we start actually exploring AOP in further details. Now definitely couple of terms are little confusing for you at this particular point, but we will dig more into all these points in detail. So saying this, I hope you guys enjoyed this particular lecture. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care. Hey guys, welcome back. This is Chand from studyeasy.org, and in today's video we will try to understand how we can add and configure a very simple, easy to understand AOP based Spring's framework web application. And for doing so, definitely we will be adding a new project. So we will click on file, we will click on new and add a new dynamic web project. We will give the name as AOP with XML configuration. We will click on next, we will click on next again. We will generate the web.xml file, but we doesn't require it for this particular project. Maybe later we might require it. We will then click on finish. Alright, so now we have a project with us. Now definitely we need to add the libraries, or in other words we need to add the jar files, right? And in this particular process of adding the jar file, I would be showing you how we can do it using something known as user library, which would be more convenient. But first of all, we need to download the jar files, right? First of all, let us navigate to Google Chrome, and in here, if we Google for repo Spring's framework, then definitely the first search result would be repo.spring.io, and if we click on this link, it will open up all the releases which are available currently. The version which we were using is version 4.3.3. So click on this particular link, and this link will open this particular page and we can download the zip file. Now friends, we have already downloaded the zip file, and we have also configured our web project previous as well, but this time way around I will show you an alternate method how we can do the same. In order to save some time, I have already downloaded the zip file and placed it in my desktop. So here is the zip file, and I have also extracted the zip file in here. If I open this particular folder, then it will show me all these folders. Definitely this particular folder is created by me. I will show you why I have created this particular folder in a minute. First of all, let us check the libs folder. In this particular libs folder, we have all the jar files which we got in our zip file. And in this particular folder, for example, for Spring AOP, we have three jar files. First one is Spring AOP version release, and then we have Spring AOP version, which is 4.3.3, then release Java doc. Then again we have Spring AOP 4.3.3 release sources, and in fact we doesn't require this Java doc and sources jars. We simply require the release jar. For example, Spring AOP 4.3.3 release. And this is the reason why I have created this particular folder, only releases created by Chand. And if we open this folder, we simply require all these jar files in order to get the Spring's framework working. And apart from that, we also require the commons login jar, which is very easy to download in fact. Now, how to download this commons login? Pretty simple. Simply Google for commons login jar and navigate to Maven repository, and we will able to download it very easily. Pretty simple. Now, apart from all these jars related to Spring, we would also require a couple of more jars when it comes to AOP. Now, I have already downloaded all these jars, and I have placed all these jars inside this AOP jars folder, which is there on my desktop. Let me quickly show you from where we can download all these jars. Now definitely we would be able to download all these jars from Maven repository. Let me show you what are exactly these jars. The first jar which we would be require is aspect JRT. The current version is 1.8, and if we check the repository, then there are multiple versions. The last stable version is version 1.8.10, so download the current stable version from Maven repository. Later down the line, we would require the aspect J waiver. Download the version 1.8.10 again. Then we would require the cglib jar. Simply Google for cglib jar, and we would be able to get the Maven repository link, download it from Maven repository again. Then we would require something known as AOP Alliance, and again simply Google for AOP Alliance jar and download it from Maven. And finally we would require something known as ASM jar, and again download it from our Maven repository. So we will minimize this Google Chrome, and here are the all required jars. So now finally let us navigate to Eclipse. Now friends, we can easily add all these jars related to Spring and related to AOP inside our lib folder and add these jar files into our build path. That will work, but I will show you yet another alternate method of doing the same. So I will highlight this particular project, right click and navigate to build path, configure the build path, and in here we have this option of add library. We will click on here, we will select this user library option and we will click on user libraries. Then we will click on this new button and we will add a new user library and we will give the name as Spring 4.3 and we will click on OK. Now by highlighting this particular user library, click on this add external chars button. And as soon as we do that, we can navigate to, for example, desktop where we have kept all the jars related to Spring's framework. We can click on this and we have added this particular folder. Remember this, only releases created by Chand. And in here we have all the required jars which would be required when it comes to Spring's framework. We will add all these jars inside this user library. So there are all these jars in here. Alright, so plenty of jars, right? Let me show you all these jars real quick. Alright, so all the jars are there. Good. And now we will click on OK. Likewise, we will again click on this user libraries button. We will click on new again, and this time way around we will type in Spring-AOP. And we will click on OK. Again, we will highlight this Spring AOP and we will add external char. We will click on desktop and in here we have this folder AOP jars and we will select all these jar. There are in total 5 jar files. We will open all these jar files. Let me check. Alright, so all these 5 jar files have been added. We will click on OK and we will select both of these jar files for our project. Let me firstly uncheck these user library, click on cancel, and let me show you how we can add the libraries into our project, which is pretty simple. We simply need to highlight the project. We will navigate to build path, and once we add the library, the user library would be available to each and every project in this particular Eclipse IDE. So it is very easy to add the user library in any project, and this is the way. Simply navigate to the build path, click on add library, click on user library and select the user library you want to add into our project. So we will add these two user library, click on finish, we will apply the change and we will click on OK. And now if we want to check whether the user library has been added into our project or not, we will simply navigate to this Java resources and we will check the libraries option, and here we can see the jar files which are added. So now we are all set to get started with actual programming part. Okay, so let's get started. I suppose the length of the video is pretty high now, so we would be actually start coding from the next video, which would be the part 2 of the same particular lecture. So I suppose I have made myself clear. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care. Hey guys, welcome back. This is Chand from studyeasy.org, and in today's video we will continue from where we have left. In our previous lecture we have added all the required jar files which would be required for AOP and Spring framework in the form of user library, and these two user libraries are already associated with the particular project. So now let's proceed further, and firstly we would be adding a Spring configuration file inside our src folder. So we will directly highlight the src folder, we will highlight it and add a new file which would be nothing but a Spring configuration file. So we will highlight and search for Spring, and in here when we search for Spring, then we would be able to check this particular option, Spring bean configuration file. Now this option would be only available if you have added the Spring IDE plugin into your Eclipse, else we need to add a XML file. Alright, so please note that. So let us quickly add this particular Spring configuration file, and we will give the name as bean and we will click on finish. Here we go. So now we have the bean.xml file. So we have the Spring configuration file with us. We will keep it as it is and we will proceed further and add 2 more class files. So we will firstly add a package, and the name of the package would be org.steadyeasy.spring, and inside this particular package we will add a class by the name of app. We will add a yet another package. The name of the package would be org.steadyeasy.aspect. Alright, so firstly let us open the app.java file. In this particular file we have our main method. Alright, and apart from this particular main method we would be adding a yet another method. This would be a public method. This will return void, and we would give the name of this particular method as later. Means we want this particular method to run later after the advice get run. Alright, and in here we would be simply printing nothing but this message should get printed later. Alright, so very simple message, and in here we would be like accessing this particular method by taking help of a bean. For doing so we would be definitely navigating to this beans.xml file, and we would be adding a new bean in here. This bean we will give the ID as app and the class would be app again. Let us add this from here, and that's it, I suppose. Let me check the source. Here we go. So we have the bean in place, and now let us navigate to our main method, and in here we will type in class path XML application context equals new class path application context, and we will pass in the name bean.xml. These stuff we already know, right? So I suppose this is very simple for you guys to understand this all now. Context.close, let us quickly close this resource as well, and in between this closing and initialization of context we would be like accessing the object, and which is very simple. In fact, app equals context.getBean. The name of the bean is app, and we will also give the class of app. So we will type in app.class. I suppose that's it, and now finally we will also access the later method. So we will type in ap.later. That's it. So let us firstly quickly execute this particular method so that we can check whether everything is working till now or not. Here we go. So this message should get printed later is something which is printed on the console, which is perfect. And now finally we will navigate to this package which says org.steadyeasy.aspect, and we will create a new class in here, and we will give the name as aspect, and we will click on finish. Here we go. And in here this is a very simple class. This is a normal class for that matter of fact, and this would be having a public method. The return type would be void, and we will give the name as advice, and in here we will print this is a advice from aspect, right? So pretty simple. And now we would be configuring our bean.xml file so that this particular method will called just before this method call. So this is something we gonna do in this XML file. Let us see how we can do that. Now friends, understand this, that whenever we would be calling this particular later method, the advise method should get executed automatically. This is something we want, and in order to do that, definitely we would be taking help of AOP, and we would be doing some configuration in this XML file. So in order to do that, we need to firstly add couple of namespaces from here. Firstly, we need to add this AOP namespace. We would also require this context namespace, and I suppose that's it. Alright. Now in fact we will not require this context namespace as well. Let us get rid of it. Alright. And moving forward, let us quickly add yet another bean based on this aspect class. So I will navigate to this beans tab, highlight this beans, right click and add a new bean, and we will give the name as aspect, or in fact we will give the ID as aspect, and the class would be aspect. We will hit Ctrl plus space for autocomplete and add in the required class. Alright, so everything looks cool, and now I will navigate to this AOP tab and highlight this beans option and add in this particular element which says AOP config. Now inside this particular configuration, we will add a aspect first. Now whenever we would be adding an aspect, we would be giving a reference, right? And this reference is nothing but a reference to a bean, and the bean would be aspect. So let me save this, and if I click on this ref, then it should open the bean aspect. So the linking part is working properly, which is perfect. Alright, so everything is good. Now in this aspect, this is not enough to like add a aspect only. We need to also do something special. We need to let the Spring framework know that we would require to execute this advise method just before this later method. In order to do that, we need to add in couple of more configuration in here. Let us check what are the additional configuration we need to add in here. Now friends, we will be like highlighting this aspect, right click, and in here there are couple of options in here that how we need to handle this particular aspect. And in here, out of all these options, our requirement is to execute the particular advice just before the specific point. So in here we would be like adding this AOP before element. Now friends, as soon as we add in this before element, in here we have this method, then we have Pointcut reference, we also have Pointcut. Alright, so we will check the Pointcut reference in couple of minutes. First of all, we will talk about Pointcut and method. Now this method is that which particular method we would like to get executed. So if we check the aspect, this is the method which we want to get executed before, right? So we will navigate in here and type in advise. So we will type in advise and we will save this. Now as soon as I click on this advise, this should take us to the exact method. Here we go. So again, the linking part is working properly, which is fantastic. And then we need to tell the specific Spring framework that how exactly we need to execute this particular advise method. And this is interesting. In here we will type in execution, and inside pair of parentheses we will give the name of the method which needs to be like mapped. So here is the method which is void later. I will copy this from here. In fact, I will simply copy the name of the method. Alright, so now friends, this particular Pointcut is the exact point where we would be like triggering the specific method. And in here we would be defining the join point. Join point means the specific point where we are joining this particular Pointcut, and based on this join point and Pointcut we would be executing the advise method. So in here we need to give the return type, which is void. Return type is void, and the name of the package is org.studyeasy.spring, and the name of the method is later. So we need to type in the name of the package, which is org.studyeasy.spring, and then we would be adding the name of the class. The name of the class is app. Then we will be adding the name of the method. So this is the way how we exactly access the particular method, which is fantastic. And this looks cool in fact. And if I now check the source, this looks like this. In here we have this AOP configuration, and then we have the reference. This reference is nothing but the reference of the aspect class. Then we have before element, and in here we would be calling the advice method. And what is the point cut? That whenever this later method would be called, just before that call in the advice method. So this is like that. Alright, so I guess everything is clear now, and finally let us check whether everything is working properly or we have missed out something. So I will highlight this particular file, right click and run it on our Eclipse IDE, and here we go. So this is a advice from aspect, and this message should get printed later. So everything is working perfectly, and even Eclipse is showing us this particular small icon which says advised by org.studyeasy.aspect.advice method, which is fantastic. So everything is working properly, and this is the overall introduction of AOP, how we can configure the things with reference to XML configuration. Definitely we will look deep into it in later videos. I suppose I have made myself clear. We will also check how to handle everything with reference to annotations in the forthcoming videos as well. So lot of interesting things related to AOP will be shown in this particular section. I suppose I have made myself clear. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care. Hey guys, welcome back. This is Chand from studyeasy.org, and in today's video we will try to understand the concept of Pointcut reference. This is something we missed from our previous lecture, so let us quickly check. Now friends, in our previous lecture we have added the Pointcut directly inside the AOP before element, but in fact we can do the same in a slightly different manner as well. So let me open this AOP tab, and in here if we check this config and highlight the config and right click, then in here we have this AOP Pointcut element as well, and we can identify or we can define a Pointcut independently as well. We will give the ID as Pointcut as well, which is a easy to remember name. We will copy the expression from here and paste the expression from here. So now I will again navigate to this before, and we will get rid of this Pointcut, and we will refer the Pointcut which we have just now defined. And if I click on this Pointcut, this is opening the Pointcut. Everything looks fantastic. Now friends, if we execute this particular application, then there would be a crash, and this is a little strange. Why there is a crash? The crash is because this Pointcut is defined after the aspect. So in order to fix this, we simply need to cut this particular Pointcut and define it just before the aspect, and then the application should work. Here we go. So everything is working properly. Now friends, what is a Pointcut? If we check this beans.xml file and highlight the Pointcut is nothing but an expression, and inside this expression we say that when there is an execution of a method, then trigger a particular advice, right? So a Pointcut is a expression which will define that when to trigger a advice. Now friends, inside Spring only support execution of a method Pointcut. Always remember this. And in fact, the AOP inside Spring is derived from something known as Aspect J. Aspect J is an external project and which supports multiple point cuts, but when it comes to Spring supports only execution point cuts, that too with reference to method. Alright, so that is some additional information. Let's come back to this particular expression. Now this particular expression is simply defining the trigger mechanism that when a specific advice needs to be called, and this says that execution of later method of app class, which is very simple. Now what is a join point? Now join point is the specific point of that particular trigger. This trigger defines the later method, right? So whenever in the program we would be executing, the later method is nothing but the join point. So the join point is the exact point when the advice would be called, and inside our point cut we would be defining the trigger mechanism. Very simple but confusing. Now friends, understand this, that whenever we start AOP for the very first time, things seems to be little confusing, but don't worry, when we code couple of programs using AOP terminology, things would be more cleaner in your mind. Alright, so now let us quickly navigate to app.java, and in here there is very small piece of information yet to be given to you all, that when we are taking help of AOP, aspect oriented programming, and creating an object, for example in here we are creating an object of app type. In fact, we are also calling a method of some other object, right? So when we are calling this later method, we need to also call this advice method just before this later method, right? So in order to implement this, Spring will give us nothing but a proxy object. This particular proxy object contains object of app type and object of aspect type as well, and because of this proxy object we would be able to call the later method and the advice method as well. So this is yet another small piece of information for you all, that how we are able to call later and advice method, that too with different classes. So this is yet another useful piece of information. I suppose I have made myself clear. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care. Hey guys, welcome back. This is Chand from studyeasy.org, and in today's video we will start setting up a sample project using which we will understand how to make use of annotations with respect to AOP, or aspect oriented programming. So first of all, let us add the user libraries into this project. So I will highlight this particular project, navigate to build path and configure the build path, and using this tab libraries we will add the library which we have already defined in our previous lecture, and add in the library for Spring 4.3 and Spring AOP. Let us click on finish. So we are all set. Now in order to start exploring more about this particular project, all the libraries are added already. So let's get started. Now in order to understand the concept of AOP easily, let us take example of a real life object, cars, and in order to understand this we will firstly create couple of packages. So let us firstly create a package by the name of org.studyeasy.app. This will contain our main method. A class inside this project will contain our main method. We will create a yet another package, and the name of the package would be org.studyeasy.cars. Then we will create a yet another package whose name would be org.studyeasy.service, and I suppose the package related to aspect we will be creating it later down the line. So first of all, let us create two classes by the name of electric car and petrol car. Inside this particular package org.studyeasy.service we will create a yet another class by the name of automobile, or in fact we will give a more easier name like cars. Alright, so everything seems okay, and inside this electric car, let me open this particular class. We will have a method like method run. So it would be a public method, public void run method, and inside this run method we will simply print a very simple message running. Alright, likewise, let me copy this fragment of code from here. We will also have a exact same method in here which will also print running in here. Alright, and inside this cars we will have object of electric car and petrol car. So let us quickly do that. So I will say electric car. Likewise, we will have a yet another object for petrol car, and we will create the getters and setters for these two objects. Let us firstly add the required packages, and we will ask Eclipse to code rest of the class for us. So let us generate the getters and setters for both of these objects real quick, and that's it. And well, this looks cool. And now finally we will code a very simple class by the name of app, which have the main method definitely, and in here we will definitely can take help of any of these classes in order to access the run method by taking help of cars service. So for example, in here we will simply type in means cars, car equals new cars, and that's it. And using this particular object we can access the run method easily. Let me show you this. So I will take car dot get electric car dot run, and now if I execute the main method, it should, for example, run the run method. Oops, we need to run it on the application. Oops, we need to run it as an application. Now definitely we can also make use of what we say Spring MVC in order to implement the concept of AOP. That's very simple, but in order to run this particular program, I suppose there is some kind of issue. Let me retry, and it says null pointer exception. Let me check what's going wrong, and I suppose there is nothing wrong in here. Let me check what's exactly is going wrong and why we are not able to execute this particular program. Now the reason why we are getting this null pointer exception is pretty simple. We need to initialize these two objects. So let us quickly do that. So I will type in new electric car, and we will do the same in here, new petrol car. So we will initialize both of these objects, and now if we try to execute this particular program, it should work perfectly. Fantastic. Alright, so moving forward, we would be quickly creating a yet another package. The name of the package would be diagnosis, and before we run this run method, we will diagnose the engine. So the purpose of the class which we will be creating is to checking the engine. So the name we will give is diagnose, and in here we would be creating a public method. The return type would be void, the name would be engine, and inside this method we will simply print checking engine. Alright, so this looks cool. Now the target of R is pretty simple, that whenever we are running this run method, our target is to run this engine method automatically just before this particular run method. So this is something we're gonna do in our forthcoming video, where we will implement AOP concepts in this particular program. So this is something we're gonna check in the forthcoming lectures. I hope I have made myself clear. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care. Hey there, welcome back. This is Chand from studyeasy.org, and this particular project which is in front of us, this is nothing but an exact copy of the project which we have built in our last lecture, and we will continue from where we have left. The first thing that we need to do is to add a new package in here. So let us highlight a project, navigate to new, and add a new package in here. So here is the new package, org.studyeasy.config. Let us click on finish. Alright, so inside this particular config package, we will add the configuration class. So now let us highlight this config package, we will right click, navigate to new and add in a new class by the name of config. Let us click on finish. Now we will also mark this particular class as a configuration one. So let us quickly do that. Alright, and in here we need to add couple of beans. The first two beans which we would be requiring is this electric car and petrol car. So let us create the methods for the same. So we will say public electric car. The name of the method I will give is again electric car, and this will return object of electric car. Alright, so this looks cool, and we will mark this as a bean, and we will also give the name to this bean, which is a good practice, and we will give the name as electric car only. So let me copy this text from here and paste it in here, and definitely we need to import the required package of the bean. So everything looks cool, and let me quickly add the required bean for petrol car as well. So we will do the same. We will add in the bean, and we will give the name of the bean as petrol car, and we will add the public method in here. The return type would be petrol car. The name would be like petrol car again, and inside this particular method we will again return a object of petrol car. This is a usual thing which we already know, I suppose, right? Alright, so everything looks cool, and I suppose we need to add the required package. No, there was a misspelled method name. Alright, so everything looks cool in here. Now friends, we have these two beans now, so we will do something interesting now. We will navigate to this service package, and in here, as we know that we require object of electric car and petrol car. Initially we have initialized these two cars, right? But now we will auto wire the objects so that Spring can automatically do the stuff for us. So let us get rid of this initialization part, and we need to auto wire the beans with these two objects. So we will type in auto wire in here, and we will do the same for petrol car as well. Alright, so the first task of auto wiring these objects are done. Then later down the line we would also require a bean based on this cars class. So definitely we will be adding a new bean in here by the name of cars. So let us do that. So I will highlight the beans annotation and add in a new bean. The name I will give as like cars. It would be a public method. Return type would be cars. The name I will give is again cars, and it will return a object of cars as well. Let me add in couple of white spaces in here and maximize this. Alright, so I will say return new cars. Everything seems to be good till now. Let us finally add in the required package as well. So the configuration class is ready with us, and finally let us navigate to app.java so that we can finally call in this run method based on our configuration class. So now finally let us get rid of these two lines of code, and in here we will make use of annotation config. And finally we will call in the name of config, and definitely we need to pass in the class. So here we have the context, and using this context we will be getting the object of cars. So we will say cars car equals context dot get bean, and the bean type which we will require is cars, and the name of the bean which we have given is cars. Alright, so we require cars bean, and the type would be cars dot class. Fantastic. So everything is working perfectly, and we will also close the context real quick so that we can get rid of the resource leak thing. and using this car object we will call an get petrol car dot run method. Here we go. So this is fantastic, and now finally if I run this particular method, then everything should work properly. Here we go. So this is running perfectly, there is no issues and everything is working perfect. Last thing that we need to do is definitely adding a aspect, and we want this particular method to run before we run this run method, and this whole process should be done automatically. So our target is to run this particular engine method just before the execution of this run method using AOP. So this is something we're gonna do in our forthcoming lecture. So I suppose I have made myself clear that how we have configured this application, and now we will definitely dig more into the AOP part. Hey guys, welcome back. This is Chand from studyeasy.org, and let's continue our journey. In our previous lecture we have converted this particular application into a Spring application using annotations, right? And the program is working properly. Now definitely we will take this diagnosis.java file or this diagnose class into picture, and we will try to convert this particular class into an aspect, and we will try to run this engine method just before this run method. In order to perform this particular target, first of all we need to define this particular class as a bean. So that's something is the first step, and definitely in order to define this as a bean we need to add in a new method in here for marking this class as a bean. So let us open the config.java file. In here we will add in a new method, public. The return type would be diagnose, and the name would be again diagnose. Alright, and then we will return new object of diagnose type. Alright, so this looks cool, and now definitely we will mark this as a bean. Let us add couple of white spaces in order to give you a better view, and let us also give the name. It is always a good practice to give the name to the bean even though it is not mandate. Alright, so this is cool. So now we will navigate to this diagnosis.java. Now we have the bean diagnose, which is the first step. Now the next step is to marking this particular class as an aspect, and doing that is pretty simple. We will simply make use of this annotation aspect, and that's it. Now friends, we want this particular method to run just before executing the run method, which is defined inside these classes, petrol and electric car, right? So let us navigate to diagnosis.java file as well, and in here we will make use of something known as before. So we will make use of this annotation, and inside this particular annotation we need to define the expression of Pointcut. So in here we will say execution of a specific method. Now the name of the method is pretty simple. The name of the method is run, so we will type in void, which is nothing but the return type. Then we will say run and then pair of parentheses, and that's it, which is fantastic. So this particular expression is nothing but a Pointcut expression, and this will trigger that whenever we will be executing this run method, this particular method will run before, because we are making use of annotation before. Alright, so everything looks perfect. Now there is one more small little thing which is left in here, which is enabling the auto proxy. So let us do that as well. So in here I will enable the auto proxy, which is done, and now we are all set to execute the particular program. Now let us finally check whether everything is working as expected or not. Here we go. Fantastic. So now this is executing everything perfectly, and which is fantastic, and our task is done. Definitely there is more to it, and we need to discuss more sophisticated things related to AOP in the forthcoming lectures, and that we will discuss in the forthcoming lectures. I suppose I have made myself clear that how to configure a 100% annotation based AOP program using Spring's framework. I hope I have made myself clear. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care. Hey there, welcome back. This is Chand from studyeasy.org, and in today's video we will try to understand couple of more things related to aspect oriented programming. Now friends, this particular project is an exact copy of the previous project which we have built, and if I execute this particular program, then definitely before this run method a yet another method is getting called, and if we check the configuration, then here is the configuration because of which we are executing a yet another method. Now friends, these kind of methods which are inside the aspect class and uses the annotation before, after or around, these kind of methods are known as advise, and these method are nothing but our advise method which advises the actual method. In here the engine method is advising the run method, and based on the advice the execution cycle took place. As a result, the engine method ran just before the execution of run method. Now friends, if we check this Pointcut expression, this Pointcut expression is pretty simple, and the same signature does lie inside a electric car class and petrol car class. Now this means that even if we create an object of this electric car method and execute this run method, even then this engine method will get executed. Let me show you how this will work. So in here, if I say car.getElectricCar.run method, even then the engine method or the advise will get executed. So let me show you by executing this particular application. Here we go. But somehow electric car doesn't have an engine, so in that case we need not to execute this engine method. In order to restrict this, we will be taking help of the package of petrol car. The package of petrol car is pretty simple, org.studyeasy.cars, then the name of the class is petrol car, right? So we will do something extra in here. We will provide the exact path of the run method. So in here we will type in org.studyeasy.cars.name of the class, which is petrol car dot name of the method. And now if we execute the program, then it should not run the run method when it comes to electric car. Here we go. So now we are able to restrict the engine method execution just to petrol car type. So this is good. Alright, so let us quickly also test whether this works for petrol car or not. So I will get rid of this code. From here I will say car.getPetrolCar.run. Well, this looks fine, and let's execute our application. Here we go. So now the program is working perfectly. So this is good, and moving forward we will check yet another thing. Let us navigate to diagnose.java, which is our aspect, and in here we are currently making use of this before. We can also make this as after. Let me save the program and let me also add the required package. Here we go. Now let us quickly navigate to app.java. Let us quickly run the particular program as well, and in here now the run method is getting executed before, and after the run method's execution we are like executing the advise method, which is perfect, which is just exactly how we have configured the advise. Now friends, if we try to add multiple point cuts, then what happens? For example, in here if I try to add in yet another point cut, which would be like before point cut, then what happens? Now in this particular case we won't be able to execute both of these point cuts, rather we would be able to only execute the first point cut which we have defined. So let me execute the program, and then in here we would be able to see that the advise is getting executed only before the run method. So this particular Pointcut is not working. Now if we want to execute this kind of method or advice before a specific method and also after a specific method, then how we can do the same? In that case, we need to add in multiple methods. For example, if I copy the method and paste it in here, and we will rename this as engine1 and we will rename this as engine2. Definitely we will also update this particular message as checking engine before and checking engine after, like this, and then this particular method will execute before the run method, and this particular method engine2 will run after the run method as well. So we can add multiple Pointcuts to a specific expression if and only if we have multiple advice method under Spring framework. So let us quickly check whether our theory is working in practical as well. So here we go. So our theory is exactly working how we have predicted, and everything is working perfectly. So this is something which is couple of more additional information which I would like to share in this particular video. In the next video, we will discuss about Pointcut in a greater detail and how we can also define Pointcuts which are reusable. So this is something we're gonna check in our next video. Till then, thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care. Hey there, welcome back. This is Chand from studyeasy.org, and in today's video we will start exploring yet another annotation, Pointcuts. Now before getting into the discussion of Pointcuts, there is yet another small little update related to the project, which is very simple, that I have updated the name of this particular package. Previously the package name was org.studyeasy.diagnosis, and now the package name is renamed to org.studyeasy.aspect. So this is a small little update, and this update has no effect with the logic of the program. So let's get started with the yet another annotation, Pointcuts. Now friends, in our previous lecture we have created multiple advice methods, and in these advice methods we have exact same Pointcut expression, and which is a redundant work. Imagine that the expression is little tedious and little lengthy, so it would be rather easy for us to define a Pointcut and reuse the Pointcut in these places, and that would be definitely a better way. So let us do that. For doing so, we will make use of Pointcut expression, and in between this pair of parentheses we will be simply copying this expression and pasting it in here. Now friends, imagine that we are simply making use of this annotation, and this annotation is not associated with anything, and this is an error. In order to fix this error, we would be creating a dummy method. It would be again a public method. The return type would be void, and the name of the method could be like run. Now inside the body of the method there would be nothing, because definitely this is simply a method which is created because we want to associate this particular annotation Pointcut to it. Alright, so now in order to make use of this Pointcut, it is very simple. We will get rid of this lengthy expression, and in place of that lengthy expression we will simply type in run, which is really good, right? So we will do the same in here as well, and this particular Pointcut will be automatically assigned to both of these advice method. And finally, let us check whether everything is working properly or not. Alright, so there is some kind of issue. Let me show you what is the issue. Illegal argument exception, and I suppose I have made a mistake in here. I need to also add a pair of parentheses. That's a silly mistake though. Alright, so let me rerun this particular program, and this time way around it should work. Here we go. So this is working perfectly. Let me again rerun it. Here we go. So this is working perfectly, and this is how we can make use of this particular annotation Pointcut, which is convenient and reusable. So this is fantastic, and this is all about this lecture, and I hope I have made myself clear. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care. Hey fellas, welcome back. This is Chand from studyeasy.org, and in today's video we will discuss about types of advices. To be precise, we will talk about after advice in greater detail. In our previous lectures we have coded this very simple program where we have multiple advices. The first advice name is modified to before advice. This particular method would be called just before the run method. Likewise, we have also modified the name of the advice to after advice, and this particular method would be executed just after the run method. And which run method? Run method is nothing but this particular run method which is inside the petrol car class, and this configuration is based on this particular Pointcut expression. Alright, so these are couple of configuration which we have already did. Let us check the app.java file and let us also execute the application so that we can check the output. So here is the output, and the output of the program is as expected. If we check this diagnose.java, then we are simply making use of this after advice, and after advice is considered to be a final advice. No matter whether this run method is encountered with an exception or not, this particular advice will get executed. Let us check this particular theory whether this actually works or not. So I will navigate to this petrolcar.java file and we will throw an exception in here. So we will say throws exception, and for exception we will make use of the base exception class. Alright, and moving forward we will throw an exception. So we will say throw exception. Alright, so we are throwing a exception object, and I suppose that's it. And as soon as we add in this particular line, we need to update our app.java file as well, because now this particular line of code is throwing an exception, and we will handle the exception by making use of try catch block. Alright, let us do one more thing. We will navigate to petrolcar.java and we will add a message in here, and the message would be, for example, what happened. A weird message though, and in here we would be like print the message on the console, and we will say caught exception, and we will also print the message which we have received. So we will say e.getMessage. I suppose these are the usual Java stuff, and I suppose you guys already know these kind of stuff. Alright, so using this object we are getting the message from the exception. No rocket science in there. Finally, let us execute this particular program again, and then we can see that the output says that in here we are also getting the exception. So it says caught exception, what happened? And we are also see that the after advice is also got executed. So this is fantastic that we are able to like execute this particular advice. But friends, there is couple of more things, and there are couple of more variations to this after advice, and let us check what are these variation. First of all, I will comment out this particular advice, and we will copy this particular line of code and paste it in here, and we will modify this annotation to after returning. So it says after returning run the run method. Now friends, if there is an exception, then this particular method will not get called. So in here we will also update the message, and we will say after returning advice. And now finally let us execute the main method, and we can see that we would be able to call the before advice. We are able to run the run method, but we are not executing the after returning advice. So this is the usage of after returning advice type. Alright, so let us quickly ask ourselves that what exactly is after returning advice. So this kind of advice will get executed only if the method is not returning any kind of exception. In our case, our Joinpoint is run method. So if I navigate to this particular class and I comment out this particular line, then now the run method is not throwing any exception. Now definitely this particular method should get executed. So let us again check whether the theory works properly or not. Alright, so now the output is proper and we are able to execute this particular advice after returning advice, which is fantastic. Alright, so let us now again navigate to this file, and we can also do an inverse of this. Means we can also try to add a specific advice which will get executed only if the Joinpoint method is encountered with the exception. So let me also comment it real quick, and I will copy this particular method and paste it once again. And in place of after returning, we will make use of something known as after throwing. Alright, so now we would be making use of this yet another advice whose name is after throwing, and it says that after throwing an exception, then only execute this particular method. Now as if now this particular run method is not throwing any kind of exception, as a result this particular advice will not get executed. Let me also edit the message from this particular method. So now the message is after throwing advice, which is perfect. And finally we will execute the method real quick, and now we can easily see that after throwing advice is not getting executed. But if the run method throws an exception, then definitely the method will get executed. And let us check the concept real quick again, and here we go. So now after throwing the exception, we can see that we are able to run the advice, and the advice is after throwing advice. So these are couple of variation of after advice, and this is fantastic that how we can handle all the possibilities of execution cycle. So there are three possibilities. First possibility is that it doesn't matter whether the method is throwing exception or not. So if we want to handle those kind of scenario, we would be making use of after advice. If we want to execute a advice only if there is no exception, then we would be making use of this after returning advice. And finally, if we want to execute a advice only if it throws an exception, then we would be making use of after throwing advice. Now friends, there is one more possibility of handling a advice just before the execution and after the execution of a specific method, and that one additional possibility we would be discussing in our next video. I suppose I have made myself clear for these three variation of after advice, and I suppose you got the point, and we would be checking a yet another type of advice in our forthcoming lecture. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care. Hey there, welcome back. This is Chan from studyeasy.org, and in today's video we will check the around advice. Now friends, we have already checked the before advice, the after advice, right? And when compared with before advice and after advice, around advice is definitely more powerful, because by taking help of around advice we can run code before the execution of the method and after the execution of method as well, and which is definitely more powerful. Now if we add the around advice like this, where we are using this annotation around, and we have defined this particular method around advice, and we are simply printing some message on the console by taking help of system.out.println, then what would be the output? Let us firstly check that. So let us definitely run the app.java file, and we will notice that in fact only the around advice is getting executed, and even the run method is not getting called. And the reason is very simple, because the way of making use of around advice is a little more different. when compared with before advice and after advice. Let us check how we can make use of around advice. Now when it comes to this around advice and we want to execute the run method, then the way is pretty simple. We need to give the handle to the run method as well. So for doing that, we need to make use of something known as proceeding Joinpoint. Let us give the object name as JP, and if we want to execute the run method now, then we need to proceed the control further, and the way is pretty simple. We will simply take help of JP object and then we will call a method by the name of proceed, and as soon as we call in this particular method, then the control would be proceeded to the run method. Now this jp.proceed method, or this proceed method to be very specific, will return a exception. So let us handle this exception as well. Now friends, there is one more thing, that we can also execute some code after the execution of the run method as well, and the way is pretty simple. We will simply add in the code after this try catch block, and in here, for example, we will display some additional message as around advice later call. Alright, now the call is not a specific correct word in here, so let us give the message as around advice initial message and around advice later message. That would be a better message in fact. Alright, so now finally let us execute the app method, and this time around we would be able to call the run method as well, and this is fantastic. Now friends, we are able to run some code before the run method. We are also able to run code after the run method, which is fantastic, and this is the reason why the around advice is so powerful. It can run code before the execution of the method, and it can also run the code after the execution of the method. Now friends, what will happen if the run method throws an exception? And the answer is pretty simple. Let us navigate to this run method and let us uncheck this particular line of code. Now this particular method is throwing an exception. Now this particular exception would be caught by the catch method of this particular proceed call, and we are catching the exception. In fact, let me do one more thing in here. We will simply print the message which we receive. So I will say e.get message. Alright, so this is fantastic. We are simply checking what is the message which we are receiving, and we would be able to see that in fact we are catching this particular exception, and the message would be what happened. So finally let us rerun this particular program and everything will work perfectly. So here is our output, and we are able to, for example, see the output, but somehow we are not able to see the message. Let me see what's going wrong. Okay, so in here we are not making use of system.out.println, and definitely we need to do that. So let me quickly do that. Let me cut this line of code and paste it just before here, and finally let us run the app.java file once again, and this time around we would be able to see this message as well. So this is fantastic that everything is working perfectly. So this is all about today's lecture. I hope I have made myself clear. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care. Hey there, welcome back. This is Chand from studyeasy.org, and in today's video we're gonna check wildcard characters with reference to Pointcut expression. This is a project which I have already built in order to save some time, and in this particular project we have an aspect. Let us check the aspect first, and in this particular aspect we have this advice, and the name of the advice is test advice, and we are simply printing this message test advice. Moreover, we also have a Pointcut, and the Pointcut expression is based on the run method on petrol car class. So all these things we already know. How to make use of before advice we already know as well. So let us also quickly check the petrol car class. There are certain modification in the petrol car class as well. In the petrol car class I have added couple of more run methods, and these run methods have a couple of variations. For example, this particular run method receives a int entity, then this particular run method receives multiple argument, and then there is a yet another run method which returns a string entity. So there are a couple of variations of run method which are there inside this petrol class. And let us quickly also check the electric car class. Inside the electric car class, we only have the run method which simply displays a running electric car message. So let me update the message as well. And in petrol car class, we are displaying the message running petrol car. So everything is pretty simple and we are already used to all these kind of stuff. So let us finally run this particular application in order to check the output. And the output is pretty simple. We are simply showing the message from the advice. The message is test advice, and then definitely we are displaying the message from the run method which is running petrol car. So all of these things are pretty simple. Now friends, our target is that even if we are running some other run method from this petrol car, even then the advice should get executed. For example, if I get rid of this particular run method and execute some other run method, and then finally run this application, then the advice will not work. Here we go. So the message changed, running at 100 km per hour, and the version of the run method which is getting executed is this, where we are printing running at, then speed, which is the received entity, and then we are displaying this particular message km per hour. So this is pretty simple, but we are not able to execute the advice, right? So in order to execute the advice, we need to do certain modification. So the modification is pretty simple. Firstly, we gonna pass in a star in here. This means that if there is a parameter passed to this run method, and the parameter could be anything, run this particular advice, right? So we have made some modification in the Pointcut, and the Pointcut we are referring in here. So now we should able to run the advice again. So let us try to execute the program. Here we go. So now we are able to run the advice. Now for example, I modify this run method little bit more, and I make a call to a yet another run method where we have multiple parameters. So I will pass in the first parameter as 100 and second parameter as 50. Then if I try to run this particular application, then somehow we won't be able to run the advice. Here we go. So there is a catch, right? So let me again navigate to the Pointcut. In here we are simply passing in this wildcard character. This wildcard character is star, and if we pass in a wildcard character star, this means that if the run method is receiving only one parameter, and that parameter could be anything, int entity or a string entity or maybe some custom object, it doesn't matter, it will execute this particular advice. But if there are multiple parameters in our run method, then definitely this Pointcut is not a valid Pointcut for that kind of run method, right? In order to fix this issue, there is a yet another wildcard character which is dot. If we pass in two dots in here, this means that it doesn't matter how many parameters are getting passed to this run method, simply apply this Pointcut expression. And if we make use of two dots in here, then definitely our app will run any version of run method which is there in the petrol car class. So finally, let us try to execute the particular program, then it should work properly. Here we go. So this is fantastic. Means let us summarize this once again. If we are making use of a star wildcard character means that if we are passing only one parameter, it doesn't matter which kind of parameter is passed, then this Pointcut would be used. But if there are multiple parameters, if there are multiple argument passed to the method, then definitely we need to make use of a yet another wildcard character which is double dots. Alright. So everything is sorted out, and finally the program is working properly, and all the versions of this run method would be able to run. Now there is one more thing. For example, we would be running this particular version of run. Then what would be the output? Let us quickly navigate to the main method, and in here we will run some other method. So we will say run, and we will pass in some message in here. We will say test message. Very simple. And then if we try to execute the program, then again the advice will not get executed. And I suppose there is some issue. There is no issue as such. We are not displaying any message in here. Let us quickly display the message in here as well. Here we go. So now we are displaying the message properly, but we are not executing the advice again. So in order to fix this issue, and in order to apply this point cut to all the run methods, we need to do something more. In here we are like making use of void return type, but we want that even if the return type is anything, then also the run method should get executed. So we will give a star in here as well. Then finally all 4 versions of this run method will get executed regardless of this point cut expression. So now this point cut expression is a perfect point cut expression for running all 4 run method. So all 4 version of run method will get executed now. So finally let us check whether our theory works perfectly or not, and this is fantastic. This is working. So this is all about like running all 4 version of run method using this petrol car class. Now friends, we can also get rid of this dot wildcard character from here, because using this dot wildcard character will have no restriction on number of parameter in our run method. And if we do the things like this would be probably better. This means that there could be only 2 parameter in our run method, but these 2 parameters could be anything. So let us again check whether this works properly or not. So we will navigate to this app.java. We will get rid of this run call, and we will call to the run method. We will pass in multiple values, and the values could be like 150 again. And finally let us run this particular app once again. Here we go. So this is working perfectly, and we can definitely like mix and match these wildcard characters like based on our requirement. Now friends, we have get rid of the dot wildcard character, but somehow adding this particular expression star comma star will add a yet another restriction to the run method. And the restriction is that in order to run this particular advice, the run method should have 2 parameters. Now if we are calling a run method which doesn't have 2 parameters, then definitely we won't be able to call this particular advice. So let us like quickly check the app.java file. We will right click, navigate to run, and we will try to run the app. Then it is running our run method, but we are not able to run the advice, which is not good. So this is a catch, that whenever we are making use of a star, it adds an restriction, but if we are making use of double dot, it doesn't add a restriction. So let's quickly check whether double star works our trick or not, and it does. So what does this double star wildcard character means? This means that this parameter list is unrestricted. This parameter list of run method can have 1 parameter, 0 parameter, or multiple parameters as well. So this is unrestricted wildcard character. Alright, so let's proceed further. Now friends, we can do one more thing. Till now we are restricted to the name run, right? So we can also get rid of this run, and we can make use of this wildcard character star in here. This means that even if the name of the method is not run, even then this particular point cut will get associated, and we would be able to make use of this advice. So let us quickly navigate to this petrol car.java, and we will rename the method run to run1 maybe, and we will navigate to app.java. Java and we will try to execute the run one method, and even then our advice will get executed. Here we go. So the wildcard characters are not only restricted to, for example, return type or parameter list. We can also make use of the wildcard characters in our package path. In fact, I can also get rid of this particular petrol car and we can make use of a star in here as well. And proceeding further, I can also make a call to, for example, run method from electric car class. So let me get rid of this particular line of code. And using the object, we will make a call to get electric car method, and then we will call the run method from electric car method, and even then the advice should work properly. Here we go. So these are a couple of variations how we can make use of this wildcard characters with reference to like Pointcut expression, and which is fantastic, and we can do like anything from these wildcard characters star and dot dot. So this is all about like wildcard characters with Pointcut expressions, and in our next videos we're gonna dig into more in the world of aspect oriented programming. I hope I have made myself clear. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care. Hey guys, welcome back. This is Chand from studyeasy.org, and in today's video we're gonna check within Pointcut Designator. Now before we start with within Pointcut Designator, there is a small little thing which we have missed from our last lecture. Now friends, this particular project which is in front of us, this is nothing but an exact copy of the previous project where we have this particular point cut and we are applying the point cut in here, and the method name is test advice, and definitely we are printing also a very simple message on the console. And let us quickly check the app.java. In here we are simply running the run method. So if we, for example, run the run method, then our advice will get executed, and then definitely we would be also executing the run method. Now let us navigate to aspect once again, and let us also check the petrol car class as well. So in here the class which we are making use is not from in fact petrol car. Let us check the electric car real quick. So the class which we are making use is electric car, and the method which we are making use is this particular method. Now here is something. Now friends, for this particular run method the access modifier is public. So let us quickly navigate to the aspect, and we will restrict the execution of the method based on the access modifier. For example, in here I say private, then as the run method's access modifier is public, then definitely this run method will get executed, but the advice based on this particular point cut will not get executed. So let us quickly check whether this works properly or not. Here we go. So now the advice is not getting executed. Likewise, if we quickly modify this private to public, then definitely our app will work properly. Let me rerun it. Here we go. So this is working properly, and which is perfect. And alright, so this is something which we have missed from our last lecture, and now finally let us jump to the topic within Pointcut Designator. Now friends, till now we are making use of this execution. Now this execution is nothing but a Pointcut designator, and there are a couple of more designator as well. So if we quickly check Google, and if we Google for Pointcut designator, then there is a very good documentation provided by Spring's official website, and if we open this particular link, this will load this web page, and in this particular web page there is tons of information related to AOP, and out of which if we scroll down we can see an article on Pointcut designators. Here we go. So in here we have an article. In fact, this is not article, this is a part of the article where we are discussing about Pointcut designators, and in here we have the list of designators which are supported by Spring. Till now we have checked execution, and now we're gonna check within Pointcut designator. So let us quickly check this designator. Alright, so let me minimize this article and we will also check the rest of these designators in the forthcoming videos as well. Alright, so first of all, let me simplify this point cut a little. And now if we check this particular point cut, it says that if there is a method which is getting executed and is inside org.studyeasy.cars package, then definitely execute the advice, right? And as we have applied the point cut in here, then the test advice will get executed. Now this particular expression seems to be a little confusing as there are a couple of wildcard characters, and in order to reduce the confusion, we can make use of within designator in this kind of scenarios. Alright, so let us get rid of this execution and we will make use of within in here. So this is cool. And if we navigate to app.java, we are executing a run method which is in our electric car class. So we will navigate to the aspect and we will get rid of this wildcard character first, and then we will also get rid of these wildcard characters, and then we will pass in the name of the class. So within supposed to accept a class, and definitely we need to pass in the path of the class. Alright, so now if I execute the app, then definitely the advice will get executed, which is perfect. Now if we check this particular package, then there are multiple classes, and if we want to, for example, run the advice when any method of this package gets executed, then definitely we can take help of wildcard character. So we will type in a star in here, and then if I execute the program, then it will work properly. And even if we call any other method from any other class, which is like get petrol car, which is like petrol car, even then it will work properly. So let me show you. This looks cool, and now we can execute the app and we are able to see that the advice is getting executed, which is perfect. Now friends, there is one more interesting thing, and in fact this is not related to AOP. In fact, this is related to common programming world and how things can be. For example, if we check this particular bean in here, we are calling the bean car, and this bean is returning an object of cars type. Now what is a cars? Cars is a service, and this service has two properties, electric car and petrol car, and we have the getters and setters of electric car and petrol car. And these kind of infrastructure is very common in programming world. So we can do one more thing. We can, for example, we can build the point cut based on this particular class. So let us do that, and that would be interesting. So in here we will say org.studyeasy.service.cars. Now cars is definitely a class, so again this program should work. So now if I execute this particular application, even then the advice runs perfectly. Means we are not applying the advice based on this particular method, rather we are applying the advice based on the getter method. So even that is very interesting, that how we can assign advice in any point of time. So by saying this, I suppose I have made myself clear. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care. Hey there, welcome back. This is Chand from studyeasy.org, and in today's video we're gonna check the usage of Joinpoint object. Now friends, in order to save some time, I have already modified this particular project a little, and using the petrol car class, we are simply calling this particular method whose name is run and which receives the int entity. If we check the petrol car class, then here is the method which we are calling, and we are simply displaying some message. Alright, moving forward, if we quickly check the aspect, in our aspect we are making use of the point cut expression directly in this before designator. Now friends, if we execute the app, definitely the advice will get executed. So that is perfect. And if we navigate to this diagnose.java file, in here there is no rocket science. Now friends, when we were discussing about the advice type around, we have already checked something known as preceding join point. Now when it comes to around advice, we make use of preceding join point, but when it comes to before and after type of advice, we can make use of something known as join point. So let us check what are the things which we can do with these kind of join points objects. So in here I will type in join point, and the name of the object could be like JP. And using this JP, we can firstly display what exactly join point we are making use of. So let us quickly display jp.toString. Alright, so now if I execute the particular application, then definitely this will display us the join point, and this is the join point which we are making use of. We are making use of this packages, this method which receives int entity. So the package name is org.studyeasy.cast.patrolcar.run, and then the run method also accepts the int entity. So if we want to get the information regarding the join point, we can definitely make use of toString method. Now this is one thing, let me comment it out. We can do couple of more interesting stuff with the object of JP as well. In fact, by taking help of this join point, we can also get the object of the called class. So if we want to get a object of petrol car class, we can do that by taking help of this JP object. So let us check how we can do that. So in here I will say petrol car, and we will create an object of petrol car, and then we will say petrol car because we need to like cast the object, and then we will definitely make use of JP, and there is a method by the name of getTarget, and if we call the getTarget method, then this particular method returns an object. And if we, for example, cast the object to the target class, then we are capable of like getting the object of the target class, and using this particular object we can definitely make a call to any method. So for example, we can do this, we can make a call to any run method in here, and for example we send in some message in here like test call to run method. And now if we execute the application, then definitely we are able to run the run method. Let us check the theory whether this works properly or not. Here we go. So we are able to call the run method, and we are also able to pass in the message, and the advice is also running, and definitely the run method is also getting executed. So this is really handy, and we can do a lot of stuff with this. Now there is one more interesting stuff related to the join point object, and which is really handy as well. We can in fact read the information which we are receiving as an argument to the method, which is definitely a fantastic thing. So again, let me comment all these line of code to start with, and then we will do again something interesting in here. So firstly, let me add in a system.out.println line, and in here we can make a call to yet another method whose name is getArgs. Now friends, there is a catch. This particular method returns an array of objects. Now if we try to directly execute this particular code, then what would be the output? Let us check. Here we go. So this, for example, shows an object, and this is of no usage for us. So in order to retrieve the information from this array of object, we need to do something extra in here. So first let me get rid of this system.out.println call, and in here we need to iterate over this particular array of objects. So for doing so, we will make use of for each syntax. So we will say for objects op colon, and then we will iterate over this list of objects. And in here, if now I type in system.out.println and try to display OB, then definitely we would be able to display the information which we received as a argument to this particular run method. So in here we are passing in 100, so definitely this particular statement will display 100. So let us also give some message in here in order to get a better understanding that this exact line is getting executed. So in here we will type in arg received. So this looks cool, and finally let us execute the program. Here we go. So arg received 100, test advice got executed perfectly, and then finally we have also made a call to run method. So all of these things are perfect, and this is the usage of this Joinpoint object, which is fantastic. So this is all about today's lecture, that how easily we can also take help of JP object or Joinpoint object, and we can do such interesting thing. Now definitely reading the args in this particular fashion is not so handy. So in our next video we will see how to read arguments which we receive from the method in an easier fashion. So that is coming up in our next video. I hope I have made myself clear. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care. Hey guys, welcome back. This is Chand from studyeasy.org, and in today's video we're gonna check the Args Pointcut Designator. Definitely we will also check that how we can read the information which we receive as an argument of a method using the Args Pointcut Designator. So let us quickly check our aspect, and in our aspect we have this particular point cut, which is a very simple point cut, and we have this test advice, and we are simply displaying this message, which is very simple message, and the message is test advice. Alright, so this particular point cut says that if the method name is run, the method returns void and it receives a int entity, then run this particular advice. So pretty simple advice though. And let us quickly check the app. In this particular app we are calling a method which has a parameter, and this parameter is an int entity, so definitely the advice will get executed. So we will run this particular application and we can see that the test advice is getting executed. Now friends, as if now we are making use of this execution, so let us get rid of it and we will make use of args. And if we make use of args, then as the name suggests, we will simply pass in the argument. So we will send in the argument like int. Now if there is a method which has a argument list and the argument list is only a int entity, then definitely the advice will get executed. So let us check whether this works properly or not, and this works properly. For example, if I get rid of this argument, then the run method from petrol car class will get executed. Let me also show you the petrol car class, and in here we also have a run method which doesn't require an int entity as a parameter list. So let us quickly do that and check whether the test advice get executed or not. And as we already know that as the argument list is none and we are not receiving any argument in this run method, the advice is not getting executed. So arg is very simple, that it will define that which kind of argument would be passed to the argument of the method and how many argument. For example, in here if I say int comma int, then definitely if I pass in only one int in here, then the advice will not get executed. Let me check. Here we go. But we also have a version where we require two int entity as a parameter list, then definitely the advice will get executed. So let us again check. Here we go. So the test advice is getting executed once we have modified the run method and we are passing in two parameter list or two argument. Alright, so this is a very simple, that we are simply defining the arguments, and in here we are sending in the type of the argument. Now we can also send in the name of the argument. So that is interesting, that how we can handle the name of the argument. So let us check that. But before we proceed further with the name of the argument, let us quickly check how we handle the wildcard characters with reference to Args, Pointcut Designator. Alright, so in here we have given the Args argument list as like int and int. So let us get rid of the second int and we will make use of star wildcard character. So now the second argument could be anything. So in here we are sending in int and int, and the advice will get executed. Here we go. Let us also modify the car class a little. In here I will add in a yet another method, I would say, and this method will receive a string entity. But before the string entity we will also receive a int entity. Alright, so we will give int id maybe and string message. So we will, for example, we will say id plus message. This looks cool. Alright, so now we will also return to our app.java file, and in here we will send an int and a message, and the message would be test message maybe. Alright, so this looks cool, and if we execute this, if we execute this as an application, then the output will be some weird message. We don't worry about the message, but the advice is getting executed, which is perfect, fantastic. So we can make use of wildcard characters. Moreover, we can also make use of the wildcard character dot in here. This means that the first argument of the method should be int, but later down the line, after the int argument, the argument list could be anything, and there could be multiple arguments after the int entity as well. So in here, for example, if we add in a yet another method, and this particular method receive multiple messages, say message and message 2. Definitely don't worry about the output of the program because we are simply testing the concept. Alright, so now if I submit a yet another message, and then we try to check whether our advice is getting executed or not. So even that would be tested, and the advice should get executed. Here we go. So the wildcard characters could be also easily used with the Args Pointcut Designator. And now finally let us check how we deal with the name of the arguments. Alright, so now finally let us get rid of this argument list, and friends, now we will make use of the name of the argument. The name of the argument could be, for example, temp. Now this name could be anything as far as we follow a couple of conventions, and for example in here we call a run method which receive only a int entity, and we want to read this argument which we receive from the called method. So in here we will simply give a single temporary variable name. Now we would be receiving a int entity. As a result, in here we need to specify that the entity would be int and the name would be temp. Temp is the variable name, and this temporary variable name would be used in here. So this name and the name which we define in this patrol cars run method need not to be same. So it is okay even if the name is different. Alright, so now let's proceed further. So in here we have this int variable name which is a temporary name, and now moving forward we would be making use of this Pointcut. Now this Pointcut method receives a int entity. As a result, we need to also pass in something in between this pair of parentheses. So in here we need to also specify temp. So this and this a little similar. Alright, so there is a one-to-one correspondence in here. We are making use of this variable name temp, and inside this method we will also make use of the same variable name which is temp in our case. And now finally we will also receive this temp in our test advice method. So we will do this in here. We will be receiving this temporary variable, and finally we can read this information in here. So we will say temp in here, and let us modify the output, and we will say value received. And now if I execute this particular application, then definitely we would be able to read the information. So value received is 100, and as we can easily see that the value sent to this run method was also 100. So this is awesome, that how we can read the parameter or the argument which we are sending into this run method. So this is fantastic. Now definitely we can also pass in multiple variables in here, for example temp2 maybe, and we need to modify a little in here as well. This looks to be cool. Let me quickly copy this from here and we will paste it in here. Alright, and in between temp1 and temp2 we will add in a space as well. Alright, so this looks cool. And now finally if I execute this particular method, then the advice will not get executed, but if I pass in toInt entity, then definitely we would be able to run the advice, and moreover we would be able to read the argument as well. Alright, so here we go. So fantastic, we are able to read the argument. Now friends, we can also make use of this particular expression directly in this before annotation, and even that is possible. So I will simply get rid of this Pointcut and we will make use of Args designator in here, and that's it, I suppose. And now if we execute the application, even that will work. So by saying that, I suppose I have made myself clear. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care. Hey there, welcome back. This is Chand from studyeasy.org, and in today's video we will try to understand what exactly is a proxy object and how to make use of interfaces with reference to proxy object. Now friends, we have did couple of changes in our sample application, and now we are making use of this bean petrol car, and this bean is getting fetched based on this class petrol car, and using the class directly we are calling in the run method. If we check the petrol car, there are a couple of versions of run method in here, and definitely there is this config.java file where we have all these bean definition. So this is cool, and let us also quickly check the aspect. And if we check the aspect, I have also further simplified the aspect, and now if the method name is run, it returns a void, and it is a public method, then definitely this particular advice will get executed. So everything is pretty simple, and if we now execute this particular method, then definitely the advice will get executed. Now friends, till now we are only making use of these classes and we haven't touched on interfaces. Now suppose this petrol car is implementing a interface, and for example I say implements interface, and the name of the interface would be like machine, and let us ask Eclipse to create this interface as well, and we would be clicking on finish now. So now finally we are implementing an interface, and if we now execute this particular method, then what would be the output? So there is no issue as such, even though we are implementing this interface. But suppose this interface has the declaration of this run method, then so let us quickly do that as well. So in here we will have the declaration of the run method, and then we will try to run the app. Then what would be the output? And that would be a crash. And if we check the stack trace, then it will say bean not of required type exception, and it will say that the bean named petrol car is expected to be of type org.studyeasy.cars.petrolcar, but was actually of type com.sun.proxy.proxy13. And this is a little weird, that even though we are doing everything correct and the program was working properly, but now it is giving us some horrible trace back. And why exactly this is happening? And this is happening because of proxy objects. Now understand this, that in here when we talk about this car object, this car object needs to call this test advice method as well. As a result, this object, when we are creating by taking help of a bean, AOP and Spring will create a proxied object, and this particular car object will contain object of petrol car type and object of diagnose class type as well. And as a result, we would be able to call in the test advice method, and we would be able to call in the run method of petrol car type. Now this is cool, but when it comes to interfaces and when the petrol car is implementing the machine interface, then what exactly happen is that this car object will start containing object of the aspect diagnose class. So the car object will start containing the interface object only and will not contain the petrol car object. As a result, we would not be able to call in the run method, and this is the reason why we are getting the terrible trace back. So if I rerun this application, then there is a terrible trace back, right? So this is the reason why we are not able to run the run method. Now how to fix this particular issue? Let us check two possible solutions. Now the first solution is pretty simple. We can ask AOP to make use of petrol car object rather the interface object. So which is very simple. In fact, if I navigate to config.java where we have the configuration, this particular annotation enable aspect j auto proxy has some argument which we can additionally pass in. Now let us check these argument. If I highlight this pair of parentheses and bring the cursor in between this pair of parentheses and hit Ctrl plus space, then Eclipse will give us these options. Out of these options, one of the option is proxy target class, and the value it receives is a boolean value. So let us check this particular option and we will pass in the boolean value true in here. Now what is a target class? It is very simple. If we navigate to petrolcar.java, the class implementation is the target class, and this interface is definitely the interface. So we can either create an object of interface and use the object of interface, or we can also make use of the target class. So in this particular argument, we are telling AOP that make use of target class instead of this implementing interface. So now if I execute the program, then definitely the application will work. So here it is working. Now the alternate method would be that we would be making use of the interface, and let us get rid of this argument, and in our app, rather making use of this petrol car class, we can directly make use of this machine object. So even that is possible, and which is very simple as well. In here we will say, let us make the petrol car as machine, and then we would be fetching the petrol car bean from this config.java, but we will make use of the interface, right? So in here, let me quickly do that. Alright, so this looks cool, and now if we execute the application, then does it works or not? This doesn't work. Let me maximize this. This says bean not of required type exception again, and it says bean name petrol car is expected to be of org.studyeasy.car.petrolcar, but it was actually of type com.sun.proxy.proxy13. So again there is a issue, but why there is a issue? Now whenever we are making use of the interface, there is a requirement. All the methods which are there inside this particular class needs to have the declaration inside our interface. So this is the reason why we are getting the horrible traceback, and there is a trick how we can get rid of it. I will simply navigate to this petrol car. I will right click, navigate to refactor, and we will extract all the interfaces of this particular class. So I will select all, and we'll give the name of the interface as machine. Alright, so it already exists. Let me firstly delete it real quick, and then we will do the required step once again. So we will extract all these methods, we will give the name as machine, and then we will click on OK. So this looks cool, and I guess there is some kind of issue. Yes, there is a issue. Let me fix the issue. Now this looks cool, and now finally if we execute the app, then it should work. Here we go. So now finally it works properly. So whenever we are making use of interfaces, have a caution, and we need to think accordingly that how the configuration will work, whether we would be making use of proxied object in which manner. So these couple of small little things are important, and these are possible to solution. Either make use of interface completely or make use of a target class. So these are a couple of things, and I suppose I have made myself clear. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care. Hey there, welcome back. This is Chand from studyeasy.org, and in today's video we will check target and this Pointcut Designator. Now here is an aspect of the application which is in front of us, and first of all we will check the target Pointcut Designator, then later down the line we will check this Pointcut Designator. Alright, so in here target Pointcut Designator is a very specific designator. So let me show you a perfect example. Let us also navigate to app.java first. Now in here we are making use of this petrol car bean, and the bean is of petrol car type, and as we know that this particular car also implements this machine interface, so we will be doing two things in here. First of all, we would be creating the Pointcut based on this petrol car class, and then we will again check whether this works for machine interface or not. So let us quickly do the same. Alright, so in here we need to pass in the designator which is target, and inside the target we need to also give in the package where we have the petrol car class. So I will type in org.studyeasy.cars.petrol car. Now friends, when it comes to target, it is a very specific Pointcut designator. As a result, we won't be able to make use of wildcard characters, and we have to pass in a specific path of a class or an interface. So this is very specific type of Pointcut designator. Alright, let me also update the message in here. So I will say target advice in here, and later down the line we will also see this Pointcut designator. Alright, so now we are all ready to execute this program, and we have this target Pointcut designator which says that if we are executing a specific method of type petrol car, then execute this particular advice before the specific method. So let us execute and check whether this works or not. And there is some kind of issue. Let me check what is going wrong. I suppose we have did something wrong in here. Alright, so let us quickly fix the issue. Here is the issue. In fact, we need to pass in the pair of parentheses in here, and we will quickly comment these methods from here, and we will later down the line use these methods. Alright, so let us quickly modify and save the program and run the program, in fact, and here we go. So now the target advice is getting executed. Now a target advice is a very specific Pointcut designator, and in the target designator, if we use interface or class, it doesn't matter. For example, in here we are making use of this petrol car class, so your target advice will get executed. But even if we make use of this machine, even then the target advice will properly execute. So it really doesn't matter which thing we are in fact referring in this particular Pointcut designator. As far as the class implements the interface, or the class itself is a part of this particular expression, the target will get executed. So let us quickly check whether the theory works in practical or not. So I will modify this a little, and in place of petrol car we will make use of machine, and we will see whether this works properly or not. And let's see, and here we go. So this works properly. So this is all about target Pointcut designator. Now let us proceed further and check this Pointcut designator. So I will uncomment this now, and definitely we will do some changes in here. Alright, so let us also add in the pair of parentheses in here, and I will take a shortcut, copy this particular expression, and we will use it for this Pointcut designator, and we will modify target with this. So this looks cool, and as if now this particular expression has the path for machine interface, and if we check the app, then even inside our app we are making use of machine. As a result, if I execute this particular program, then this advice will also get executed. Now this advice is very specific to object type, and this particular car object do contain a object of machine. As a result, the test advice is getting executed. Now let us modify this particular path with petrol car in here. Alright, so this looks cool, and now if we execute the application, what would be the output? Here we go. So now finally we can see that this advice is not getting executed, and the reason is pretty simple. When it comes to this Pointcut designator, the proxied object needs to contain the object type, and in our proxied object, which is the car object, it contains machine object and it also contains the aspect. And definitely, as it doesn't contain petrol car object, we are not executing this particular advice, which is very specific. Alright, so this is cool, and let me navigate to app, and for example, if I now navigate to config.java and we do something special in here, we mark the proxy target class as true, then what would be the output? Now we are forcing aspect to make use of the target class, right? As a result, the car object will now start containing the petrol car object. As a result, we can see that this advice will start getting executed even if we are specifying car class in here. So this is all about this Pointcut designator, and I suppose I have made myself clear. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care. Hey there, welcome back. This is Chand from studyeasy.org, and in today's video we're gonna check Bean Pointcut Designator. Now Bean Pointcut Designator is very simple and easy to understand Pointcut Designator, and in here let us quickly check the app first. In here we are making use of this bean by the name of petrol car, and this bean is based on petrol car class. If we quickly check the petrol car class, then it implements machine, and even though the proxied object may contain object of machine, it doesn't matter in fact. And if we quickly check the config.java file, in here is the configuration for petrol car bean, where we have explicitly given the name petrol car as the bean name. And finally, if we check the aspect, then in here we have this Pointcut. Let us define the Pointcut. So it would be a bean Pointcut, and definitely it would be in between pair of double quotes, and in between this bean we simply need to give the name of the bean. In here we are making use of this petrol car bean, so we will copy this bean, we will paste the name in here, and that's it. Now we need not to worry about proxied objects in here. It is very straightforward. If this particular bean name matches the bean name which is used in your application, then your advice will get executed. Alright, so in here we have applied this particular Pointcut to this particular advice. The name of the advice is test advice, and as we know that the name of the bean is petrol car, this test advice will get executed. So it is damn easy. Alright, so let us check whether this works properly or not. And here we go. So it does work, and it does work perfectly. Now if we check this aspect, in here we are making use of this petrol car. Now we can also make use of wildcard characters in here. For example, if we get rid of petrol and in place of petrol we make use of maybe star, then again the advice will get executed. Here we go. Again, we can do one more thing. We can also add like the wildcard character after the text. So now again this will work properly. Alright, again we can also do one more thing. We will make use of star car, and then in place of petrol car we may make use of maybe electric car. So we have this class in place by the name of electric car. Let me copy this real quick. I will navigate to app. We will make use of electric car in here, and we will do one more thing. We will make use of bean electric car, and this looks cool. I guess there is some kind of error. Let me see. Alright, so we need to import the required package, and that's it. And now if we check the electric car, we do have a method by the name of run, and now if we execute this particular application, the advice run means as we are making use of this wildcard character, it doesn't matter if there is this text car in the name of the bean, our application will work properly and our advice will get executed. So here are we. So if the name of the bean exists, this car word at the end of the bean, right? Because we are making use of this wildcard character just at the beginning of this word car. Alright, so I suppose I have made myself clear and it is working properly. Let me again recheck. Alright, so this is all about this very easy to understand bean Pointcut designator. I hope I have made myself clear. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care. Hey there, welcome back. This is Chand from studyeasy.org, and in today's video we're gonna check @target and @annotation Pointcut designator. Now before checking the @target and @annotation Pointcut designator, there is an interesting stuff that I would like to share with you all. Now friends, if we check this particular application, in here we are making use of electric car class, and the name of the bean is electric car. Let me also show you the config.java file. So this particular bean is based on electric car type. Let me close the config.java file now. Now for example, if we check the aspect, then in this particular aspect we are making use of this Pointcut, and this Pointcut is based on this within designator. Now this within designator is making use of this package which is org.studyeasy.cars, and we are also making use of this wildcard character. So if the class is within this particular package, then this advice will definitely get executed. So let us quickly check whether this runs or not. So the run method is getting executed and also the advice is getting executed, which is perfect. Now suppose we want to implement a yet another restriction, and the restriction is pretty simple. If a class is making use of this component annotation, then only execute the advice, else don't execute the advice. In those kind of scenario, we can apply a yet another rule or a yet another restriction in this particular Pointcut, and which is very simple as well. We need to make use of this particular annotation as a part of the expression. So we will simply copy this annotation and we will paste it just in front of this particular package. Now there is a catch. When we are making use of this annotation in here, we need to also pass in the path of the annotation. So if I navigate to electriccar.java and I hover upon this particular annotation, then the path is org.springframework.stereotype.component. So let me copy this package name real quick, and we will paste it just before this particular annotation. So this looks cool, and now if I execute this app, then definitely the advice will get executed because we are making use of electric car type and the annotation is component associated with electric car. But if we get rid of this annotation and then we try to run this application, then the test advice will not get executed. So this is how we can like add in a yet another restriction in our point cut. Alright, so this is all about adding a yet another restriction based on annotation used in your class or interface. So this is one thing, and let's proceed further and let's check the @target and @annotation Pointcut designators. Now @target Pointcut designator is pretty simple. In fact, let me first get rid of this within designator. And now this particular designator require a path of annotation, so we will get rid of this @ symbol in here and we will pass in the path of the annotation. So in here the path is org.springframework.stereotype.component. Now friends, using this @target Pointcut designator, we would be able to apply the only rule that which specific annotation would be considered during the execution cycle. Now if we want to create more sophisticated point cuts, then definitely we need to combine couple of more designators. Now how to combine multiple designators and create a more sophisticated point cut is something which we're gonna see in the later tutorial videos. As of now, do understand that using this particular designator, we would be applying this particular rule that if the class is making use of @component annotation, then apply this point cut and execute the advice. So let's proceed further and let's check the electric car. In here, as if now we are not making use of component annotation, as a result the advice will not get executed. So let us quickly check whether this gets executed or not. Yes. So this is not getting executed, but if we quickly navigate to electric car and add in the component annotation, then definitely the test advice will get executed. Here we go. So this is all about @target Pointcut designator, which is pretty simple in fact, but this @target Pointcut designator is specific to a class. What happens if we want to like apply a rule based on a method? So in that particular case, the @annotation Pointcut designator comes into picture. Now let us again navigate to this diagnose.java and we gonna copy this from here and we will paste it again in here, and this time way around we will make some changes. And I suppose yes, I was making use of a previous example, so the name of this method is not proper. Let me do some changes in here for you guys, and so this looks cool. And now moving forward, we will make some additional changes in here. We will give the name as annotation Pointcut, and we will copy this text from here real quick, paste it in here, and moving forward we will rename this particular test advice method as test advice 2. Alright, so this looks cool. And now finally we will make some additional changes in order to check the working of @annotation Pointcut. So let me also do one more thing. I would be like commenting out the code which we were making use in earlier duration of this particular video. So we would be commenting out these two methods. So in place of target, we will make use of annotation, and now we will make use of some other annotation. In fact, now there is a very easy to use and good annotation which is deprecated. So now let us navigate to electriccar.java, and in here firstly let us get rid of this annotation component. Alright, and now we're gonna mark this particular method as deprecated. So let us quickly do that. Now friends, what is deprecated? Deprecated means that this particular method is an older version of the method and it is no longer in use. Alright, so now let's navigate to the aspect, and in here we will type in deprecated. So we will simply type in deprecated. Now friends, in here we are not making use of the full package name because it is natively supported annotation, because it is a part of java.lang package. So we need not to worry about specifying the path and the package, which is okay. Alright, so now finally let us navigate to the app, and now if we execute, then definitely the advice is getting executed. So this is how we can make use of @annotation Pointcut designator. So this is pretty simple. At target is used for class level and at annotation is used for method level annotation Pointcut designators. So this is pretty simple. At target is used for class level, whereas at annotation is used for method level. Alright, so this is all about at target and at annotation Pointcut designators. I suppose I have made myself clear. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care. Hey there, welcome back. This is Chand from studyeasy.org, and in today's video we will try to understand the at Args Pointcut designator. Now friends, the Args Pointcut designator is a little different when compared to at target and at annotation Pointcut designator. And in order to understand this at Args Pointcut designator, let us code a very simple program. And here is the aspect. Let us quickly provide it with a annotation. Now when it is the annotation which is already there in java.lang package, we can directly refer it in here. So we will be making use of this deprecated annotation. Now definitely if you are making use of some annotation which is not available in this java.lang package, then we need to pass in the complete package name. So that is a catch. Alright, so now we are having this Pointcut which is based on this at Args Pointcut designator, and we are making use of this particular annotation and everything is in place. Now when exactly this Pointcut will get executed and we would be able to see this advice. Now this is a little tricky to understand. Let us now navigate to app.java, and currently we are making use of this run method, and this run method is of electric car type. So we need to modify this a little in order to get things working. So first of all, we will get rid of this run method, and in place of the run method we will call in a method which is not available in fact. So we will type in recharge, and we will pass in an object of a custom class, and this class would be like battery. And as we are passing in a new object, we need to make use of this keyword battery and a pair of parentheses. So this looks cool. Now definitely this battery class is not available, so we would be creating the battery class, and we will be placing this particular class inside a yet another package by the name of objects. Alright, so let us click on finish, and as if now, don't worry about the methods inside this class. A blank class will work. Alright, now again this recharge method is not available in our electric car class, so we will again ask Eclipse to code it for us. So let us code it, and here is the method. So this looks cool, and alright, so let us also add in a simple message in here. The message would be recharge method called, or like car recharged, car got recharged. So this looks cool. Alright, so now finally if we save this app and execute this application, then this application should work, but it is not working. I guess there is some kind of issue in our Pointcut. So we need to work on the Pointcut, that is sure. And now let us navigate to our method, but I suppose there is no issues as such. Let me check by pausing this video, and here is the issue. We have made a typo in here, and this is so damn funny. This is ARGS, not AGRS. Alright, so that was a silly mistake though, and that was funny. Alright, so nevertheless, let's come back to our application, and now if we execute the program, it will work. Now finally we are able to execute the recharge method, and this recharge method is accepting a arg. Now this argument in fact is important. Now when it comes to at Args Pointcut designator, then this Pointcut is based on the argument which we receive in the method. Now if this particular argument is accepting custom object, and that particular class has the annotation used, then your Pointcut will get executed. This is a little complicated to understand. For example, now if I mark this class as deprecated, let me do it for you. Now, as we have marked this class as deprecated and we are accepting an object of a deprecated class, then finally our Args Pointcut designator will get going. So this is funny, and this is how this works. And this is in fact funny, but in an intelligent manner, that how we can handle the things and how sophisticated things could be. Alright, so nevertheless, finally we are able to execute the and args advice, and the application is working perfectly. And this is all about @args Pointcut designator. I hope I have made myself clear. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care. Hey there, welcome back. This is Chand from studyeasy.org, and in today's video we will try to understand how we can combine Pointcut designators in order to create more sophisticated and powerful Pointcut expressions. And in order to do that, I have already created this particular aspect where we have couple of Pointcuts already, and we also have a test advice. Moreover, let us quickly check the app, and if we check the app, we are trying to run the run method, which is of electric car type, by taking help of electric car bean. Alright, so let's navigate to aspect real quick, and in here we have couple of Pointcuts. Now understand the scenario that we want whenever there is a method which is inside this particular package or .studyeasy.cars and the method is deprecated, we want to run the test advice. So if we want to achieve this particular target, we need to combine multiple Pointcut, right? So it is rather very simple. In fact, we would be making use of this particular Pointcut whose name is within Pointcut, and we will make use of operator which is AND operator. So we will make use of this double ampersand means AND operator, and then we will also make use of this particular Pointcut which is annotation Pointcut. In here there is a typo, let me fix that. Alright, so now we are also making use of annotation Pointcut. Alright, so now whenever there is a method which will get executed, the method is inside this particular package or .studyeasy.cars and the method is deprecated, then our test advice will get executed. So now let us quickly check whether this works or not. So in here we are executing the run method. Let me execute the application, and we can easily see that the run method is getting executed. Let me check the electric car. Now this electric car class has this method run, and the run method is not deprecated. This is the reason why the test advice is not getting executed. As soon as we mark this as deprecated, then definitely the test advice will get executed. So let us check whether this works or not. Here we go. So now the test advice is getting executed. Moreover, we can also make use of OR in here. So this ampersand is the AND operator. Now if we would like to make use of OR operator, even that is possible. Let me make use of pipe symbol. This is OR operator, and now even if the method is not deprecated, even then the test advice will get executed. So let us check now. Here we go. So again the test method is getting executed. Alright, so let us navigate to aspect once again, and let us take a more realistic example. This OR example was not good enough. Alright, so let us get rid of this OR operator, and we would be making use of AND operator again, and we will mark not in here. Exclamation mark means not operator. Now what does this particular expression means? This means that run this advice only if the method is from this particular package or .studyeasy.cars and the method is not deprecated. So even not operator can be used in here, and this is in fact a more realistic example. And now for example, if I navigate to this electric car, let us get rid of this annotation real quick. Let us navigate to app real quick, and Now if I run this application, then definitely the advice will get executed, but if I mark the run method as deprecated, then definitely the advice will not get executed. Alright, so let us see. Things are working as expected. The last thing that I would like to share with you guys is that we can also make use of these expressions directly inside in here. We need not to worry about creating a Pointcut method first and then only refer the method name in here. So we can make use of direct designators and also make use of these operators in order to combine these expressions and create a more sophisticated Pointcut expression for making use in, before, after, or the other annotations based on AOP. Alright, so this is all about like combining Pointcut designators, and you guys can experiment more with these operators and, or, and not. So these are three operators: and, or, and not. So you can experiment with these, and I suppose this is very simple and easy to understand. So I want you guys to experiment more by combining couple of more Pointcut designators. So by saying that, I hope I have made myself clear. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care. Hey there, welcome back. This is Chand from studyeasy.org, and in this particular section we will try to understand how we can associate AOP functionality in our standard Spring MVC project. Now friends, we know what aspect-oriented programming is, and we have also seen Spring MVC based programs. Now this particular program which is in front of us, this is nothing but a program from one of the previous lectures. Now in this particular application we have this home page, and this home page says, hey user, may I know your name? And for example, if I enter my name in here and click on submit, then it will say hello Chand. So this is a very easy to understand application. Now in here, this particular URL is nothing but the base URL, and when we click on submit, then this particular URL is base URL plus /hello. So this is pretty simple in fact, and these things we already know. Let us quickly check the controller which is responsible for handling this particular application. If we check the controller, then the annotation @controller is used in this particular class. The name of the class is hello controller, and we have two methods. These two methods are handling our two pages. The first method is nothing but the home page method, which is handling our home page, and the page which we are loading is nothing but index. So let us also check the index.jsp file. So if I navigate to web content, inside the web content we have this web-inf folder where we have the JSP folder, and finally we have this index.jsp file. If we check this file, we have a very simple form, and we are submitting this form to hello. And if we again check the hello controller, then the request mapping -hello is this particular method. The name of the method is hello world, and in here we are simply reading the parameter. Then we are adding the parameter as an object by the name of name, and then we are simply returning the model. And finally, based on this model and view object, we are loading this hello.jsp file. So if we check the hello.jsp file here, we are simply displaying the hello, and then we are also displaying the name which is entered by the user. Now friends, if this particular explanation is little confusing to you guys, then I suggest you guys to check our section where we have discussed Spring MVC related topics. So that would be a very good help for you. So this is all about this particular application. Now apart from this particular controller and these files, we would also require a couple of configuration files. So let us quickly check the configuration files used in this particular project. Now when it comes to Spring MVC based project, the web.xml file, or deployment descriptor in other words, plays an important role. So inside this web.xml file, we have a couple of configuration. The first important configuration is the servlet configuration, where we define the name of the servlet, and then we also define the servlet class. Now we defined the servlet class as the dispatcher servlet, which will definitely handle all the requests of this particular application. Now, why all the requests? Because the servlet mapping for this particular application is set to /. So all the requests which would be received by this particular application would go through via this particular dispatcher servlet. So that is first thing. The second thing is this init parameter, where we have defined the context config location, and this location says that the yet another initialization parameter would be passed by this particular XML file, and the name of the XML file is spring sample-servlet.xml. So let us also check this particular file. So here is our spring sample-servlet.xml file. Now first of all, we have a couple of namespaces, and adding the namespaces and handling the namespaces we already know. Then moreover, we have also added the support of component scan for the base package org.studyeasy.spring, and then we have also configured the view resolver, and in here the view resolver is inside web.inf folder /JSP folder, and the extension would be JSP. So this is all the usual MVC related configuration stuff, and here is our application which is up and running. Now friends, when it comes to aspect oriented programming with Spring MVC, things differ a little. For example, if we check the home controller, then in here we have two methods, and these methods will get executed based on your URL. Now for example, we want a specific advice to get executed whenever we visit home page, then how to configure that specific situation? Now note that in here we are not creating a bean. So even if we are not creating a bean and we want a specific advice to get executed when we visit a home page, then these kind of configuration require some special treatment. Now how we will configure our application so that we can execute a advice whenever we visit a specific URL, this is something which we're gonna see in our forthcoming videos. So by saying this, let me conclude this video. This is Chand from studyeasy.org, your host, your dost, and thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care. Hello there, welcome back. This is Chand from studyeasy.org, and in this particular video we will try to implement aspect oriented programming functionality into our Spring MVC project. In order to do that, firstly I will create a package. So let us do that. I will highlight this particular package, right click and click on this package option, and we will add a package by the name of aspect. Let me click on finish, and inside this particular package we will again create a yet another class. So we will be adding a class by the name of aspect. Now let us also mark this particular aspect class as aspect. So I will type in aspect in here and try to autocomplete. And I suppose, alright, so we haven't added the jar files related to aspect J. Alright, so let me get rid of this particular line of code, and I will also get rid of this import. Firstly, let us add the jar files which we require for AOP. So I will minimize this, and here are the jar files on my desktop. These jar files are already available to you guys in your course as a downloadable resource in our previous lectures. Now friends, in here we can either make use of user library, or we can also copy and paste the jar files directly in our lib folder. In our case, we are directly pasting the jar files in our lib folder because the user library in this particular Eclipse installation is giving us some kind of error and issues. Alright, so let us quickly fix the issue by adding these jar files into the build path. Alright, so this looks cool, and let me minimize this. Alright, so now everything looks cool. Finally, let us add in the aspect annotation in here. Alright, so moving forward, we would be creating a couple of point cuts in here. So let us add a point cut. Let us give the method name first, and the name could be like public void, and the method name could be like controller bean. Alright, so this looks cool. And now the important part in here, firstly we will make use of target, at target, and as we know, at target receives a package for a specific annotation, right? So let us navigate to hellocontroller.java. In here we are making use of this at controller annotation, and the package related to this at controller annotation is org.springframework.stereotype.controller. So let me copy this from here and we will paste the package in here. So I suppose this looks cool, and all of this particular content needs to be in between pair of double quotes. Alright, so this is fantastic. So moving forward, we will be adding a yet another point cut, and this particular point cut would be based on the name of the method, maybe hello world. So let me also copy this method. So what we want that whenever we would be submitting the form and we would be calling this hello world method, we would be executing a advice. So for doing so, we will add a yet another point cut, and the name of the point cut would be public void, and the name could be like hello world only. Alright, so this looks cool. And in here we will make use of execution. So we will say execution of star. So the return type could be anything, the name should be hello world, and it should receive anything. So we will add in double dots in here. So this looks cool again. Alright, so let us add the advice now, and the advice we would be adding is after returning maybe, and we would be definitely making use of these two point cuts. Let me copy the method name. Then we would be making use of wildcard character, and we will combine these two point cuts. In fact, this is not the wildcard character, this is, for example, AND operator. So let me again copy the hello world method name from here, and that's it. So this looks cool. And then we would be adding a method public void test advice, and in the method body we would be adding a very simple statement, and the statement would be testing advice. So this looks cool, and finally let us try to execute this particular application. Alright, now I will type in my name in here and hit enter, and there is no output on the console, right? So there are a couple of more things which we need to do. Let us check. So this looks cool, and now finally let us check the aspect, and in here we have updated this name of the method. Let me again undo the change. I have did the update for some testing purposes, so let us change it to hello world again, and now again if we hover upon this arrow, it will say advised by org.steadyeasy.aspect.hello world. So everything is working perfectly. Alright, so now finally let us execute this particular program, and on the console we would be able to see the advice getting executed. So we will run it on the server, and let us click on finish. Here we go. So this looks cool. Let me maximize the web page a little and enter my name in here, and as soon as we submit, here we go, whoopee, after advice got executed. Now definitely you can like add couple of more point cuts and do whatever you want to do with aspect oriented programming, but this is the basics of how we can execute aspects with reference to Spring MVC application. So friends, this was all about the aspect oriented programming thing with Spring framework. I hope I have made myself clear. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care.